G'day, folks. Peter here. Welcome back to Mondays Down Under on the Talking Pools podcast, where I'm joined, of course, by Lee and Shane. How are you guys?
Hi, Peter. I am very well, and I'm still in sunny Queensland, where I am pleased to say it is lovely and warm.
Half your luck, because we've got a thunderstorm passing overhead as we speak, so I hope I don't lose connection.
How are you, Shane?
Oh, I'm living the dream. I'm good. Thank you. It's pretty good over here today. The sun's been shining, so I can't complain.
We are we're less than 6 weeks from the first day of spring.
Well, that season's started already.
Yeah. And so we always said 1st of September was we started running like in the last couple of years, well into August. August ended up being quite busy doing all the prep work and the new installs and that, getting ready for the start of season kickoff. So to our listeners out there, if you had things on your to-do list for winter, you're running out of time. So better get a move on.
No pressure.
Yeah.
6 weeks and counting. Get moving.
I'm starting to see pollen in the pools, actually. Now that you brought that up, Lee. Not too much, but yeah, a little bit of pollen. So yeah, you can see spring is in the air over here as well.
Mm-hmm. Think of all those replacement filter elements you can sell. Actually, I went out to a first-time customer the other day. It was Friday. New tenants had just moved in. I was working for the property manager. And have you ever seen a filter element where the filter's been plumbed backwards and it just blows the element apart?
Yep.
This one, I reckon the system's been in there probably 4 or 5 years. There's no sign of it having been put in incorrectly and then flipped around. But this filter element was just like that. It was completely blown apart. But I cannot for the life of mine figure out how. All I can think is it was that deeply clogged and their variable speed pump started on high speed and kind of pushed it in from the outside. But it must have been pretty damn dirty and it didn't look stained. So place that element. It's a brand that's not easy to get over here.
Yeah, I would say probably, very, very heavily coated, no flow going through the blades. But was there, you know how with all cartridge filters they have an attachment that basically seals the water from going into the top of the cartridge so that it's forced through the right way. Sometimes if they're not put in place, water will obviously take the easiest route. So if they're not put into place, then you could find that the water was traveling in an opposite direction.
The brand's got that little sticky bit on the inside of the underside of the lid.
Of the lid, yeah. So they're great because you know that they're always going to, hopefully lock into position. So
you live in hope.
That's the point of them. So yeah. Hard to tell when the lid's on tight.
It is. But no, I had a few interesting ones lately. As I say, the season's starting up quite quickly. And got a phone call late last week from a homeowner here. They've got a rental property here in Western Australia, but they live in Queensland, so the other side of the continent. And they bought this house with a pool completely unseen. Now, I'm a big proponent of pool inspections before sale, before settlement.
Absolutely.
I do a lot of these inspections, and these people should have had an inspection done. Before we started recording, I showed you guys a couple of photos of this pool. So the pool was basically a swamp. The pump, a very low-level pump. It's actually a fairly reasonable quality pump, but it's at the lower end of the price range. A lot of rust around the pump. The capacitors had basically burnt out. You have something to say?
I was going to say, did the pump have a hair and lint pot? I'm just trying to remember from the picture. I didn't think it did. Was it a booster pump?
Yeah, it did.
No,
I did have a hair and lint pot.
Yeah, that was all good.
That was probably the best bit on the pump, Lee, the hair and lint pot.
Probably. That's probably why I didn't notice. I was too busy looking at the rust.
And the silicon of the outlet on the pump and all that. Or, of course, the rubber flexible coupling that was used on the suction side of the pump.
Yes.
So it was just installed by amateurs, clearly. Then the media filter. No idea what make and model. I think it might have been installed in the pre-internet days, so I don't know how I'm going to find what it is. It's irrelevant, though, because I sold them a new pump filter and added a chlorinator to the pool. That'll be going in as soon as the property manager gets me the work order. But this filter was the type where the MPV is... Okay, the tank, I'll start again. At the neck of the tank, it's got the threaded rods sticking up. You put the MPV down over those and then put the nuts on to hold it down. And there was at least 3 different types of nuts holding it down. So someone's done a DIY replacement. And they were rusted like I've not seen that level of rust before. So I explained, look, to these people on the other side of the country, I said, look, first of all, it wasn't installed professionally. This was a DIY job. And that filter is basically a bomb waiting to go off. Explained that when the pump starts, it adds pressure to the filter, it expands, and I've seen MPVs blow apart and launch off. So I'm always very, very cautious. But they could have saved so much hassle here by having an inspection on that pool prior to buying the house.
So I was going to say, for our listeners that don't offer this service, we should explain what that is. So it's a bit like when you buy a house in Australia anyway, we get a building inspection and often a pest inspection as well. So to actually point out to the potential purchasers, and it's usually done by the purchaser. The purchaser hires somebody to undertake this professional reporting, and they're advised as to if there's any areas of concern that need to be repaired or rectified or that aren't to code. So we're saying, as pool professionals, we can offer that same service. So if you don't offer that service as part of your services on your range, certainly look at adding to it, because while we can't obviously give structural advice, we can let them know that there is wear and tear on the fiberglass, or that the pump's not working properly, or it needs the new bearing, chlorinator's not working, those sort of things that could end up to be thousands of dollars, as both Pete and I have compared stories and we'll share with you in a minute. So add it to your repertoire. It's actually a great money maker, a great way to make new connections with potential new clients and sell a lot of new equipment.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Buffer Zone Systems are the pool and spa industry specialists with a complete range of software for pool shops, service companies and commercial aquatic facilities. With more features and integrations than any other pool industry software, you really need to reach out for a one-on-one demonstration. Contact Buffer Zone today.
I offer it in 2 different ways. One is for the seller before the property is listed.
Yep.
So if there's a glaring problem, I say, look, this is going to be a problem. Your chlorinator, for example, isn't working. And I tell them we can replace the chlorinator or we can remove it altogether. You just need to manually dose chlorine until the place is sold. And the way I explain this to them is it doesn't have to work if it isn't there. So I've done that a few times there.
Because a buyer in Australia, a seller cannot sell a property with something that's not working, that they know is not working. They have to declare it. They actually have to put it in the contract that it's not working. So they're better off to do something about it from the get-go, so that they don't find themselves in hot water or with a purchaser negotiating them down on their price because of a problem.
Yeah. The other type I do is on behalf of the buyer before settlement, before the legal documents are finalised and the title transfers to their name. And with them, I go through and anything that's not working, I just note on there, boom, this is a problem. Did one yesterday. There was a big leak out of the top of the cartridge filter. The pump for the solar heater, I couldn't actually get into it the way it was installed to test it properly. But you know that distinctive buzzing noise that means either the motor's seized or the capacitors are gone? That was the problem with that. This was on behalf of the buyer's agent, so somebody who helps a customer buy a house. But the selling agent was there as well. And I said to the selling agent, I said, look, there's a light in the pool. I can't find any switch, any transformer, none of that. Is it switched inside the house? Which sometimes they are. And this selling agent, sorry, she said, oh, no, I don't know, but it definitely works. Absolutely. I said, I just need to test it. I need to see it working before I put in my report that it works. So she rang the owner, the seller of the house. And then after a brief phone call, she said to me, oh, no, the light's not connected at all. It's not working. So I turned to the buyer's agent, who was holding back laughter at this point, and I said, you see, that's why I always test everything and don't just take the word of a sales rep. The selling agent wasn't happy.
Lights are a common one. Like
all the time.
Yeah, they're often the old halogens. They don't work anymore. But of course, nobody wants unsightly cords or cables hanging from the inside of their pool, so they put the old light back on and they just leave it there. Sometimes they disconnect.
Never bother to fix it at all, or even attempt.
Yeah.
It's probably, I would say, one of the most neglected parts of a swimming pool, actually.
That's very true.
Yeah, I think it is.
And it's really not that expensive to replace a light. Like, I think, what, $400 for an LED coloured retrofit light, surface mount.
You charge less than me.
Sorry?
You charge less than me.
Well, it depends on how many colours it is, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And of course, like, you're not buying cabling because it's a retro, it's just connecting. And it depends on the brand too that you're buying. But there's a number of different suppliers that do them now. But the problem is with a light is you never know whether it's actually the light that stopped working or the cable.
Or the transformer.
And the thing is too, you can put on that new light for that customer and it still not work, and then you're not going to be popular. So I always say to my customers, always put in my quote that, hey, this is the quote for the light. However, this may not be your problem. You may have a cabling problem. You may need to pull new cables through. There'll be extra fees, blah, blah, blah. If you wish to get an electrician in to test the cabling before you go ahead, that would be our recommendation. So we always use an electrician for that sort of thing, because some of these older lights aren't 12 volt. They're higher voltage, some of them. So.
Yeah. We'll occasionally see up to 32 volts still, but not for many years.
No.
Yeah.
I haven't sold a halogen globe in the longest time.
They're really hard to get.
I know a pool shop that's got a lot of them. It used to be mine.
Dead stock.
That's exactly what I wrote it off as. Yeah, dead stock. So, yeah,
but
hadn't been counted for a couple of years.
Yeah, but to contrast the two types of inspection, so the one for the seller and the one for the buyer, I had one job, and the seller called me out. It was actually the real estate agent who was about to sell the house, and I said, right, you've got this problem, that problem. Most of all, your heater is corroded out, your gas heater. It needs to be replaced or removed. Just get rid of it. We'll get in a gas plumber to cut off the gas line, remove it altogether. Again, if it isn't there, it doesn't have to work. The owner said, oh, no, it's fine. It's not a problem. Sent him my report, sent him my invoice. He paid it. Everything was done. Then the buyer called me out to do an inspection on the very same pool. Lo and behold, here is that gas heater that's completely corroded out. It went on the report, as I'm obliged to do. The seller went absolutely bat-crap crazy at me.
Oh, really?
Why did you put that on the report? I said, because I have to. I've been engaged to inspect this as a professional, and you were aware this needed attention. And he said, oh, well, now we'll just remove it. Do that now so I don't have to replace it. I said, no, that ship sailed, because you've advertised the property as having a heated pool. So
oh, wow.
You're going to be up for all of these other things I told you about, And there was a chlorinator, there was a heater, there was 2 lights, all of this stuff. I said, you didn't fix it. Yeah, it sucks to be you. You deserve this. So, yeah, thousands of dollars for a gas heater, which he didn't actually arrange it. He just got a quote and gave a discount off the settlement price.
Yep.
For the property. But that cost him thousands of dollars. To get a plumber in to disconnect it and remove the thing would have cost him just a few hundred.
Yep.
So that's the value of it. But time after time after time, I get customers, they say, we've just moved in. Can you come out and have a look? And you find, leaks in filters are a big one, especially in the spider gasket and the MPVs. Water trickling out the waste port when it's on filter or recirc mode. A lot of pumps that don't work, broken baskets, little things like that, up to things like this train wreck I was describing yesterday, where the pump is stuffed, filter fixings are completely corroded out. So, yeah, my tip for these is take a very methodical approach. The way I do it, I start off always with a photo of the pool as a whole. That also means when I'm going through my photo folder later, I can look for that particular photo. I know it's from that photo onwards. I'm guessing all of us have gazillions of photos of various pools and on our phones.
Yes.
So I do that. Then I look at the internals of the pool, the surface finish, the water clarity, because that can give you an idea. Do I need to look at something like the filtration or circulation? Look at anything like lights. Did one earlier in the week where there was just part of a light mounting bracket for a surface mounted light stuck to the wall, and the cable had been cut off short up against the wall, so there was no play. So that one realistically is going to be, the best option would be a cordless light, unless they want to cut a trench into their concrete deck and run a new cable that way. Look at the quality of the fittings, the return inlets and so forth. Then I go through the skimmer box. Is the vacuum plate in good nick? Is the skimmer basket in good nick? Is the skimmer lid in good nick? Follow through to the equipment. And again, methodically, from where the suction pipe for the pump comes out of the ground, right through into the hair and lint pot, into the skimmer, the pump lid, follow it right through, check the filter function, chlorinator function, all of these things. And it's methodical, so nothing gets missed. But one thing I absolutely love is when the seller is there, especially for a buyer's inspection, and they'll come up and they say, oh, that's the pool pump, pointing at the pump. And I'm always tempted to go, oh, is it really? I've only been doing this for 30 years. I didn't know that. Thank you. But that makes you labelled a smartass, which I've been known to be.
No, surely not, Pete.
Yeah, once or twice. But yeah, they'll do that sometimes, but being methodical on it. And when I write my reports, I take great pride in my report. There are some companies out there, they've got a single page checklist, and they'll either tick or cross something, or a box for yes, no, not applicable, as the case may be. And my thought is, if there's a dispute over it, is that document going to end up in court? So mine is, I use just a Microsoft Word template for them. I've got a couple of files with a whole heap of different things, pump models, what condition it's in, for example, the capacitor's gone, the bearings are stuffed, worded properly, of course. This pump is in good condition with no sign of leaks to the inlet or outlet union, the pump lid, the drain plug, all of that. So everything's perfectly clear. And if something needs attention, it has normally one of three things. First of all, it'll have a little attention symbol, the exclamation mark inside a red triangle, and this needs attention. I've also been known to use one with a picture of a lightning bolt, which says electrical hazard exists. I've had some where there's exposed wiring. Now, and I'm blunt, this could cause injury or death. Then if there's something extreme, I've got an icon for a skull and crossbones. Basically, there is a very good chance you will die from this. That happens a lot with the old-fashioned potty skimmers that we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
For those who don't know, years ago, pools had what we call potty skimmers because they resembled a child's potty toilet. And that was prior to, I think it was around the mid-90s when the Australian standard changed. Skimmer boxes had to be designed in such a way after that that a child couldn't get their legs through the front by sitting down in the top. Because on these old potty skimmers, there were cases of children sitting on them, the pump would start, and they'd get disemboweled. I've read about it, never seen it, thank goodness, but very serious risk. And that's something that is, I think, the only job I do for free is put something across the lid on a potty skimmer to stop the top lid from being removed and allowing a child access. It normally takes me 5 minutes, and take photos so it's documented. So if they then remove it and something happens, they can't say, oh, the pool guy was here, he didn't say anything. But apart from that, charge for your inspection. Mine's an hourly rate for inspection and the report, depending where it is, charge for travel as well. And the amount of equipment I sell from these things is phenomenal.
Yeah,
absolutely. And you've got a lifetime customer.
Do you have a disclaimer on yours, Pete?
Yes.
That says, because I think this is really important for the listeners out there that do or don't have this document, that you do need to make sure that you do have it looked over by someone with legal authority so that you're getting an inspection form like this can be a very important document. So we need to make sure that legally it can stand up. You don't want to be responsible for something that you can't really identify. So something under the ground, something that may not be obvious to a hour-long or 2-hour-long inspection. Maybe the pool is leaking. Maybe there's some structural issues. So you need to make sure that you do have a disclaimer on that covers you for that sort of thing. We used to have on ours that while we are licensed pool and spa repairs and service technicians, we are not licensed builders and therefore cannot comment on the actual structure of the pool. And then we also had something about pipes under the ground. So I think it's important for people to be aware of that because you don't want to expose yourself unnecessarily. Shane, do you offer this type of service?
Yes, we do actually. Excuse me. Just before our recording started, I just mentioned about the one that I did last year, I think it was. I think that was my last one. I haven't done one for quite some time. The housing market over here is very slow at the moment. I think when it starts picking up, we should be starting to get more inquiries through. But just going back to the last pool that I did an inspection for last year, the guy had moved in, or his family had moved in to the house. They never had an inspection, unfortunately. Over here, from what I've seen and heard, it's not something that's really heavily promoted in the industry for whatever reason. I'm not too sure. Maybe it comes down to insurances. I don't know. But he was saying that he wasn't aware. So he got me in because the pool was leaking. And we found the leak, but the back wall, there was a tree line pretty much right up against the side of the pool. There was about 8 or 10 olive trees there, and they had established into the ground quite heavily. The pool had been there for maybe about 12 years. And you could see there was a bit of a bulge starting to come through, and there was the root system. It's actually starting to push the wall through. The root had cracked the pipe. That was the one that I could fix, at least. But just explaining to him, if you had a pool inspection, you would have saved yourself quite a lot of money, or at least, maybe even put that to the seller so he can get a reduction in the buy price. But to take those olive trees down, you know, it would have cost them maybe about $5,000 to remove them, stump grind them, and then whatever other work was needed on the swimming pool itself. So there is a lot of issues out there which do happen. Maybe I just need to advertise it more on our website.
Yeah, look, absolutely. I think, and creating, if you've got a good relationship with your local real estate agents, as I know Peter does, he does a lot of their service work, but sometimes the service department, I should say the sales department and the rental department don't talk to each other as much as they should. And so it's important to actually have a relationships with both sides of the real estate agencies and let them know that this is a service that you offer. Also, let your existing clients know, should they be coming up to selling their property, this is a service that you offer. Now, if they're an existing client, chances are their pool's going to be in reasonably good condition. So because we're all over it, but it's as a seller, and my house has a pool, as I've said before. If I was selling my house, I would actually make it easy for the purchasers. And I say this because actually, probably something you guys don't know about me is 25 years ago, before I joined the swimming pool industry, I actually was in real estate. So I actually was I was a property manager for 6 years, and worked in quite a tight-knit office. So it was a really good office to work in. But I looked at things from a slightly different perspective, and about being proactive instead of reactive. And I've always been about that in business in general. But actually, I would get my own pest inspection and my own building inspection and my own pool inspection done, and put that together as part of the presentation kit given out to prospective purchasers to say, hey, look, this property has had a building inspection, it's had a pest inspection, had a pool inspection. This is everything you need to know about this property, and we're being completely clear and transparent. Now, should they wish to go and get their own inspections, completely up to them. But I'm being proactive and supplying them with that evidence. So from a seller's perspective, as Peter does, I think it's a great thing to do. And then that report can furnish as part of your contract documents. But yeah, for a prospective purchaser, absolutely paramount. And I've had a young couple, a lovely young couple, bought a house that we had done some work on the pool at that property. And unfortunately, they weren't aware of the issues with that pool. And had they come to us, we would have told them everything they needed to know. This pool actually had quite a bad leak. It had cracks in the fiberglass. Some of them had been patched up over the years with epoxy putty, so the Emma-Kit 2-part epoxy putty. And the pool actually had osmosis in the fiberglass, so badly needed to be resurfaced. Now, that's quite an expensive process, somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000. And that poor young couple bought that house, extended themselves probably beyond their comfort zone with a mortgage, as a lot of us do when we're first starting out. And yeah, to suddenly find that they had a pool that was leaking and that needed complete resurfacing was a very expensive lesson that could have been solved with spending $150 on an inspection report. So yeah,
again,
not pleasant.
Saying that buyers agents are very popular throughout Australia. Yeah, they don't seem to be very popular in New Zealand. I've asked.
It depends on the area. It depends on the area. Like in the area where I live, my home base, there's no buyers agents there. Lots of real estate agents who are happy to offer to act as a buyer's agent should they not have something that suits you, but they're not dedicated buyer's agents. No, the buyer's agents tend to be, well, from my awareness, tends to be in the bigger capital cities where people are time poor, are happy to send somebody else out to do their shopping for them, give them their list of requirements. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then let them weed them out and then show them a short list and then they inspect them and go from there. I suppose when you've got a big wide market, it's definitely a great way of whittling it down. I'm sure you could go stir crazy looking at properties on the internet. I know I go stir crazy looking at trying to book the next caravan park that I'm going to stay at. So I can only imagine.
Over here at the moment, though, on my side of the country, buyers agents are kept very busy because we're having our market, real estate market, has never been the way it is now. There's record shortages on stock, both for houses for sale and for rent. Rent prices and house prices to buy are record highs. Every real estate agent and property manager I speak to says, do you know anyone who wants to sell? Do you know anyone who wants to rent? We need stock. The demand far, far exceeds the supply. So the other thing with the buyer's agent is they'll often organise the various inspections on behalf of the buyer. So more than a few times I've arrived to one of my pool inspections and seen, the same building inspector, the same pest inspector, because they're the regulars. Well, we are the regulars who work with that buyer's agent. It's a good system.
Yeah. So there's some homework for everyone out there. If you don't have a good relationship with your real estate agents out there, your buyer's agents, your property managers, there's some terrific homework for you while we've got these last 6 weeks before the summer crazies. Go out and create those relationships because they are very financially very beneficial to your business. So, yeah.
And potentially to the buyer or seller of a home.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
It's very, very rare for me to not find a problem on a pool. I can think of once when it's happened. That's a pool we had a history with. I'd replaced the equipment, I think it was 2-3 years prior, and we'd been maintaining it ever since. So everything there was spot on. But generally, there are problems. And when you do these inspections, don't believe someone when they say, oh, no, that works fine. You don't need to test that. I had that case yesterday where I couldn't find the transformer or switch for the light. Said to the sales agent, do you know where this is switched? Is it switched inside the house? And she said, I don't know, but it definitely works.
You've already told this story, Pete.
Oh, have I? I thought that was before. But,
is Alzheimer's coming in?
One of those. I've been 10 years in the last couple of weeks. Maybe
I was going to say it's only 3 o'clock where you are, so we can't blame a few beers after work yet either.
No, not yet. Give it time. I thought that was just before the talking before we started recording. But yeah, never trust anyone when they say, "Oh, yes, that works." You want to see it for yourself.
Yeah. If you're putting your name on the line, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
You want to be able to stand behind the report that you're signing.
But I'd also like to share the briefest inspection report I have ever written for a pool. It basically, forget all my normal formatting. I inspected the pool at whatever address it was. Massive structural damage was noted to this pool shell and requires an certified engineer to assess. It is in my experience, it is my opinion that catastrophic structural failure is imminent, and then signed it off. This pool, fiberglass pool, the entire edge beam along one side had completely twisted, warped. There was a big crease in it with a crack in it. And I thought, I don't even want to be in this pool area. So cable tied the gate shut, told the seller, who of course was not happy. And yeah, that was the briefest. But notice I handballed it off to an engineer, let them deal with it. For pool fencing or safety barriers, I always have a standard thing in there. Go and speak to the local council, get them to provide an inspection certificate. And then please bear in mind, or please note, an old certificate, or which may still be valid, may not be current if things have changed or been damaged in the meantime.
Very true. And that's an important note for our listeners. So the report that we're talking about here, the pool inspection report, is not about the fencing. This is not a fencing certification. in Queensland, I think a few of the pool service technicians are certified as pool inspectors, so they may be able to do both. But for most of us out there who are just your regular pool service technicians, licensed or unlicensed, registered or unregistered, we're talking about just a standard inspection report, nothing to do with the fencing. A fencing report is something that's completely separate and needs to be done by a licensed certifier.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that gives people a good overview of the inspections that we can do, the carry-on sales from them, and the money to be made.
And some
Absolutely.
of the dodgy pools that you go to, Peter.
I missed that, sorry.
And some of the dodgy pools that you go to.
Oh, yeah. Look,
What's going on in Western Australia? I thought you guys were all rich over there with the mines and stuff.
No, it's bloody mining companies. Rich, them and the banks. But no, you get some old places. Pool I looked at yesterday wasn't an inspection, but one I spoke about where the folks bought the house unseen without an inspection. With that one there, I reckon that pool, fiberglass pool, I think it's probably 50 years old. It'll be one of the very early fiberglass pools over here. Others I see where, they're months old. Not sure why someone would install a pool and then sell the house straight away unless they're adding the pool to increase the value. But yeah, some suburbs, there's a big mix. You get the very affluent areas, and then you get some that are let's just say you double check your doors locked in your vehicle before you go into the backyard. So I think you find that everywhere most likely.
Yep.
All righty. Thank you both. Thank you everyone out there on the interwebs for listening. Please feel free to send your topic requests or any queries through to talkingpools@gmail.com, and we will do our best to respond. But for the meantime, have a great week. Enjoy the lovely weather over on your side of the world, people.
I will.
Storm will pass. And get out there, inspect pools, make some money.
4 weeks till splash. 4 weeks. And we get to actually record in person. Won't that be novel?
That'll be good. Looking forward to that.
All right, guys.
Alrighty.
Cheers.
Have a good one, guys. All right.
Yes. Bye-bye.